This is the battery to power adapter for the Mavic Pro spare batteries. It comes with the fly mode combos with the Mavic Pro, but if you bought the drone by itself like I did, I feel like this would be the first accessory you should buy along with the spare batteries. What this allows you to do is to charge your smartphones and the Mavic Pro controller or any USB devices with the Mavic Pro spare batteries. I have an iPhone 5S, which is about 2 years old now, and the battery life is terrible in this thing. Flying the drone drains the battery quite a lot because of the video feed and all the processing it has to do. A flight or two could easily drain the whole battery. And this is great for topping up the phone in between flights, as well as a backup solution for your phone or controllers when they run out of batteries. The last thing you want is to go out to a great location and not be able to fly with the phone. You can still fly without your phone, but what's the point when you can't see what you're doing? So let's look at what's in here. DJI packaging has gone very similar to Apple style. So it's this tiny little thing, and there's no reason not to have this in your bag, and it's very inexpensive as well. It just clips straight onto the Mavic Pro spare batteries, like so. And it gives you two separate USB ports, both at 2 amps. So my iPhone 5S, according to the specs, it has 1530 milliamps hour, and the Mavic Pro battery has 3830. So if you're a responsible drone pilot, you shouldn't drain this battery. In between flights, this should have at least, I don't know, 10-20% left. Let's assume that I'm being very cautious and I'll only fly till there's 25% left in the battery and bring it home. So 25% of 3830 would give 957.5 milliamps hour. Obviously when you're transferring power, there's always a loss. So let's assume a power conversion rate of 80%, which would give us 766 milliamps hour. And 766 divided by 1530 would be 49%. So in theory, 25% of your Mavic Pro battery should do a half charge for your iPhone 5S. If you have an iPhone 7, which has 1960 milliamps hour, you can charge it for 40%. If you have an iPhone 7 Plus, which has 2900 milliamps hour, 766 into that would be roughly 25%, I think. That's all in theory, assuming those numbers are correct and assuming the conversion rate is about 80%. So what I want to do is to just run the test and see how much I can charge my iPhone with the remaining 25% battery, as well as how long that would take. So to do that, I'll have to drain this battery down 75%. And the weather is terrible today, so I can't go out and fly. So there's a few things to keep in mind when flying indoors. One, because there won't be GPS, you actually want to fly this in OPTIC mode, which would stabilize itself by looking at what's around it, mainly I think it's the downward sensor. I'm not sure if it uses the camera itself to do any tracking, and in case it needs to look down for reference points, the floor here is quite, it's all very even tone, there's not a whole lot of texture, so I'm just gonna give it a little bit of help. These are my favorite tape for work. Just a few more points around the place. That should give it a lot more to look at. Camera mode. So right now it's in ATI mode, which I actually don't really want. But I don't think there's a manual way to... Yeah, so while holding the drone up here, it switches itself to optical mode. So that took roughly 16 minutes to get from about 97% down to exactly 25%. So my phone's actually gone down to 74%, which is interesting. I thought it would take a bit more than that, but 25% on the phone would equal to almost one full battery on the Mavic Pro. That's actually really good to know. I was hoping that it will be less than a 50% drain, and a quarter is actually really good. That means I can do 2 or 3 flights without charging my phone and still have a safe margin. So the phone is at 73%. Let's play some YouTube video and we'll drain it down to 50%. Alright, the phone is now at 50%, so let's plug in the charging cable. And I believe you have to turn on the battery like you would with the drain itself. Now it's charging, and let's let this run and see how much it charges. So it looks like we've finally reached 100%. And the battery itself is still on, as you can see with the LED light. The Mavic Pro battery has fully charged my iPhone. So now another thing I want to test is how much charge we actually took out of this battery. So I'm just going to plug this in. In this case, I won't need to use my phone because it should show you on the LCD screen. So according to the controller, this is currently at 11%. So if you recall, we started off at 25% in this Mavic Pro battery. I have not plugged it in anywhere since, except for the phone itself through the adapter, which means that could have continued to charge the iPhone, and that's a really good sign. So my calculation was a bit more on the conservative side. I gave it 20% power loss through the conversion. This real world test is great because now I know, even with 15% left on the Mavic Pro battery, I can charge my iPhone from 50% straight to 100. It might not be quick, but I know I've got the option if for whatever reason I desperately need it. Highly recommend everyone who do not have one of these to get one. When the battery is almost flat, it just becomes useless. Might as well put it into good use, and you never know when you need that extra power. I personally don't travel along with a power bank that often. I do have my external hard drive, which also has a built-in power bank that's got 6000 milliamp, and I use that to back up my memory cards on the go when I don't bring my laptop with me. But I'll talk about that in a separate video for more travel accessories. So I'm really happy with this. This is great, and I'm really glad I bought this, and it's ridiculously cheap. There's no reason not to have it. So yeah.